Good morning, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch. If you are new to my channel, I want to say welcome. I'm so glad you pressed play, and I hope you like what you see. Hit like, subscribe, ask questions. A lot of times for everybody, but for newbies, I answer questions. A lot of times I'll do it on Thursday. I give myself a block and I sit down with a cup of tea or something, and it's almost like I have a nice long chat with all of my friends. But I do answer your questions, so please feel free to ask them or just to give me comments. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming each and every week and supporting me and checking out my stitching and just being my stitchy friends. I am so appreciative of each and every one of you. This week is, thank goodness it's Friday. It was the longest week this week. I don't know why. It was Tuesday, and I had already thought I'd gone through 2 weeks worth of weeks, and it was only 2 days. So it's been great to finally get to Friday. And I did get some stitching done, and I have a finish, which I'm going to start with first. She's done. For all of you who have been following me with my Mary Poppins Chronicles or saga or whatever you want to say, she's done. So this pattern is from the Little Stitcher, and there she is. That's what the pattern looks like. And here she is. Oh, she looks so good. I need to have this perfect screenshot because I'd love to have this be my shot for the video. So this is done on an 18 count Winter Blues from Bestitchme. I chose this color purposely because I wanted to give it the idea of kind of foggy and that kind of atmosphere. And I love this blue. It's a great one, and it really popped the color. So I'm so glad I picked it out. So yeah, so I had to do down here and then just a little bit on the kite, and she's done. I can't believe it. I can't believe I won't have this to stitch on every week anymore. What did I do? The only change I did was instead of 310, I used Anchor Black. For any pattern that uses a lot of black and they call for 310, I use Anchor. There's another one later on that you'll see that hopefully I'll remember to tell you that too. Lots of fun to stitch, a really easy pattern to follow, my first little stitcher, and just love it. You guys gave some great suggestions about really creative ways I could finish this. I have no idea if I'm actually capable of doing that, but I wrote down notes. I always do. So whenever you give me suggestions, I always write down notes from every video of things that you may have suggested for me, and then I can go back and refer to them. So thank you, and know that I am paying attention and keeping track of great ideas from all of you. I can't believe it's done. So now I need to find another little stitcher because I really enjoyed stitching this one. I'll have to check out her shop and see what jumps out at me. But that's the finish. Finally. That one I did stitch regularly every week, and I'm trying to think. I have to go back and look to see when I started and finished it, how long it took me. But I loved it. And just for those of you who maybe Ada stitchers like me, her eyes are charted to be done over one. And I was able to, I did break up the square in the Ada, but then I also did a strategic little bit of backstitching, and you can't even tell. When you look at it, it doesn't look funny. It doesn't look weird that it's done that way. So don't let that scare you off of it. I was very easily able to do the part over one using the 18 count Ada. So I didn't find that an issue at all. Just as an FYI, I always like to know, I wish I knew more sometimes when patterns have over one, and then I can decide whether or not it's worth it if I wanted to keep my Ada versus trying to stitch on something else. So I just figured I'd let you know and put that out there because I know some of you are Ada stitchers like me. All right, so that's the only finish. I have 3 works in progress going on right now that are continuous, and the first one, I want to show you my iPad. So the first one is from the Spring 2021 Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine, and it is Buffalo Plaid Spring from stitching with the Housewives. Really super cute. And I mean, this finish, or this stitch caught my eye right away. So, I think it's cute. I just didn't want to go in that direction. I went in a completely different direction. And look, that's where we are. So we're definitely plugging along on this. I have changed pretty much everything. Maybe, I think like the green might be the called for, the bunny might be the called for, but otherwise I've changed all of the colors. So first I wanted it on a different fabric, not the black. So I chose an 18 count Magical Clouds from Dove Stitch. And this is one of those fabric flares. Actually, I don't even have to turn it over. You can see it's a printed fabric. And so obviously then I needed, my first jumping off point was to switch the word. And then the chicks, I didn't like, the color DMC that I would have used just wasn't really working for the chicks. And then some of the flowers got changed and we're just working along. The one thing I do have left that's big is the little wreath, if you'll see here, that I need to figure out the colors. But so far I think I'm really happy with what I chose. I've been, I was a little worried and a little concerned, changing it so radically, but I like it. And it definitely, to me, is so happy and springy and exactly what I would look for. I am not stitching the buffalo plaid part or the plaid border because that's all stitched. And part of it is not being on black fabric, I'd have to stitch both the gray, the white, and the black. Plus, I don't think with my color scheme that would show off to the best as it does on the way it was originally charted. So if you have any questions about my changes, I'd be happy to put them down. When I finish, I will most definitely place them, but in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I haven't been listing them underneath yet because they're not really all figured out yet, but I can certainly help with anything I've already stitched if you have a question. So that's the first one. My second one, it's funny because I keep saying, I'm gonna put this away for a little bit, but then I keep kind of pulling it out because it's springy. Pretty Little Amsterdam by Satsuma Street. And here we go. So this one is done on 18 count Nantucket Sky by Fabrics by Stephanie. And I just keep plugging away down here in the bottom. It's really funny because this is the outer edge here. I had started up here kind of in the center. So I've been a little bit nervous about this edge and down here. But I've done some counting and I'll have, but it just doesn't seem with what I have left. And you look at the pattern, you get a little nervous. Somebody had asked me about the borders I leave because I don't have huge borders a lot of times. And I don't, because a lot of these things I'm finishing myself when I actually finish. And I end up cutting off some of the border anyway. So why am I having a 3-inch border? So a lot of times on the teeny tiny ones, I might leave an inch and a quarter, because when you fold it over, you can't have a bigger border than that. Something like this, I would have probably tried to leave 2 inches if I counted correctly. Like I said, I did start from here. So I would have basically folded it over, found the middle, and then gone from there. Usually I do count this in my inches, and I don't think I did this point. Maybe I wasn't doing it at that point, and that's why it's a little bit lower down here. I'm not sure, but that's the question. If I know it's something that is kind of big or something I might have to ask to be finished or framed or something, then I would leave the 3 inches just to be completely on the safe side. But any of these, I don't really feel the need to have to do that. So I do go a little tighter, especially when it's hand-dyed fabric, because I'm cheap. I want to get as much out of it as possible. So I don't want to take one piece, plop something in the center, and then lose all that fabric when I can use it for multiple pieces. So that's what I do. All right, the last one. I kept going with her too. She's so springy that I figured I would keep going. Nora Corbett's Bells of Ireland. And here we go. This is done on an 18 count beach glass from my vintage Needlearts. And I this whole flower, and then I just kept coming over here with the leaves. I really wanted to focus in on the greens and get some more greens in. So as you'll see, it's going to come down here and around, some more there. I'm getting there. I am getting there. And I have to go back and do her arms and up there a little bit at the bottom of the wing. But there's so many colors to this piece that I decided that for now, I want to pull out the colors that are here and have those and work on them rather than jumping around and then have to pull out all the pinks and the peaches. And you know, once the blues were done, then I could just go over here. So that's pretty much what that's the rhyme or reason that I'm using for this, is that, you know, these take like 6 colors. So I just had those out and I can concentrate on those versus however number colors this entire pattern takes. Really, really enjoying this one a lot. I just love seeing it come alive. I mean, the shading and everything with it is so pretty. And my first time doing a Nora Corbett, I'll be a little nervous doing the beading, but that's okay. I have you all here to hold my hand while I'm going through it. So it'll work out. It'll be fine. But that's where it is. And again, I don't know. I mean, I've made April my spring month, so both Amsterdam and this one are both springy in my mind. So they could stay in a rotation if I really wanted to just kind of stick with spring colors. But that's where it is. Loving it, loving it. Really, really enjoying it. And I have a couple Halloween Nora Corbetts that I've started to pick up. So I'm super excited to try some more now that I've tried one and I realized that I can do it. So those are my works in progress. I have 3 of those. And then I had 2 starts. I couldn't decide which one I wanted to start this week to jump off of April and into my whole spring themed month. So I said, you know what? I'll just start 2. So I started one day before the other. So it wasn't technically April yet, but I'm done with March. I'm moving on. I want spring. I want spring. So that's what I did, was I just said, you know what? I'm jumping into the April patterns. The first one is from Croccette Gogo and is Spring Daisies. Isn't that pretty? I love that. I love the border. It's so delicate looking. And then the flowers are just so nice. I love all the different colors. So that was the first one. And I have written down, I know some of you have mentioned some of the different patterns that I was choosing for April and May that some of you had talked about maybe wanting to stitch with me. So let me know if you start so that I can put down your information, especially if you have an Instagram or a Flosstube. I can, underneath all my info, I can talk about who's stitching what with me so that y'all get a chance to see some of the other ways people have stitched it, whether it's a different color fabric or maybe using, in some cases, if it's variegated floss that the stitcher chose rather than me with my DMCs, you get a chance to see it all. And I wanna give you all shout outs if you're doing it. So this is done on an 18 count Moroccan clay. I'm just gonna hold it here because I've only just started the border, from Color and Cotton. It was a fabric of the month from Color and Cotton. So that's it so far. I was curious, I was a little worried about how the white would show up, but I think it shows up really nicely. And when you have the flowers in the center with the greens and some of the oranges and yellows, I think it'll be fine. But when I first started, you know, I started up here and it's a little intricate and I was a little worried like, oh, this counting is gonna be tough. But every single one of these here and here is all repetitive. So once you get the pattern, it's easy enough to just keep going with it. So I'm doing like the outer edges here, and then I've been doing this, and there's another section that pops out of that, and that's how I've been tackling it. And it seems to be going pretty good, and I can follow the pattern looking at what I've already previously stitched. And so far, I think, fingers crossed, I've got it counted right. But I want to get, I think I want to get the whole border done first. I think that's my goal. And then I can just concentrate on the flowers in between. So this is, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there'll be another one here and then the corner here. And that's how long it'll be. And this is a corner here. So you can see it's a nice delicate piece on 18 count. Obviously it'd be a little bit bigger if it was on a little bit bigger count. But that's the first one. Really enjoying this. I like Croccette Gogo's patterns, and I am so happy to have started this one. So please, if you're joining me with this one or any of them, let me know so that I can give you shout outs. All right. Now the second pattern that I started was another one of my, whoops, ooh, I almost showed something I shouldn't have, was another one of my spring starts. This one isn't inherently springy, but it's got some flowers, and I've been wanting to stitch it for a while, and I thought, you know what, green hills and grass and a little bit some flowers makes for spring. So it's Yonder, totally different color scheme than some of the other things I'm stitching, but that's okay. I like the variety. And this is from Hello from Liz Matthews. And in this case, I did keep it somewhat similar. Obviously, I never used the called for. I don't know if it says here. It was done on a 36 count straw linen from Weeks Dye Works. I didn't obviously use the called. I did go with the same sort of color scheme though. So this one is one of the rare cases where I did actually choose fabric that is very similar. You know me, fabric is probably the first thing and the main thing I change, and a lot of times quite a bit, but the colors really looked good on this, and I think that drew me to it. So I kept it. And here it is. This is done on an 18 count honey from Bestitchme. And this is the other pattern. All of this outer border is called for 310, and I use Anchor. This is a quick stitch. I started this yesterday, and I had some stitching time. It was pretty good. I sat down last night and I taped the Hallmark movies over the weekend, and so I watched a Hallmark movie while I was stitching it last night. So that's where I got some time in. But, you know, this is all repetitive, which is nice. Once you get going, it's easy enough to keep going with it. And there is some counting here, but it's not extensive. This is my first Hello from Liz Matthews. I'm enjoying how she's charted it. It's very easy to read, very just straightforward, set out, no problem. So really enjoying this pattern from her. And I think this will be quick. I think this one, potentially, if I give it some time each week, I think I could get done before May on this one. If I've done it just one day's worth of stitching here. You've got basically the 3 rows. You've got the hills, the flowers, the houses, a little bit here, down here with the grass, and just the border. So I think this one could easily be a finish before I head into Mania. I'm not sure about some of the other starts from, well, the Daisies might be too, but then I've got some bigger starts planned after that. So I don't think all of them will be finished. And my goal is never necessarily to absolutely have to have a finish by whatever theme I'm doing. It's the start. It's the start I enjoy. And then I pick a few pieces to like really focus on, and the others will get done. I mean, this I started back in the fall, and now I'm kind of working on it again. It'll get done. I don't stress about whether or not it absolutely has to get done, because then it's just no fun. Then it's a chore to stitch rather than a choice. And I always like to give myself choices. So that's where we are. And I will pick this one up, I think, again this week. I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying stitching that. So that's what I have this week. I'm not sure for which spring pattern I'm going to choose next to start. The rooster, I have everything, flosses and fabric. Lena's Fancy, I need flosses. I haven't bought those yet. I have a list. I have to make a Michael's order. And then I know the full coverage. I've only got the flosses for the top corner. I'm not gonna, it's a whole huge list that, you know, I've learned that from watching many of you, that I don't need it all at once. I can concentrate on an area that I'm working on. And slowly, I think this week Michael's has a 30% coupon. And if I order online, I can either do Ebates or Rakuten or Mr. Rebates, or whichever ones there are, so that I can get, you know, 3 or 4% back from there too. So the floss would be a decent price. So I may pick up, depending on how many other flosses of patterns coming up that I need, because all of my May stuff I need to pick up flosses for as well. So It's a decent amount of flosses. So we'll see. But that's always kind of the background. On the full coverage, I can each time add a few more flosses into buying and throw in a few. And before you know it, I'll have what I need. But I don't know which one's starting next week. We will see. We will see. Just depends. Depends on what my feelings are. And that so far, those 5 are my April starts. If something comes up that is really cute and is springy, then no promises I don't add anything. I'm really enjoying, this week was more a concentration of non-holiday. I don't think I didn't do any holiday stitching. I did seasonal, spring, but nothing holiday. And I kind of liked it. So I think April might be more of a seasonal, springy, maybe a little summery type of stitching. And I'm not doing any holidays, especially since Mania will have my autumn/Halloween. So I'm sure there may be some Halloween stuff going on in May, and I'll be jumping into holidays more then. And then I got to pick up my Christmas stuff again at some point. But I think April is going to be non-holiday, and I'm really enjoying that. So you're not going to see anything holiday-ish this month, but a lot of pretty flowers and a lot of spring and maybe some summerish stuff too, because there's some on the horizon that I would like to stitch there. So those are the plans. Loosey-goosey, but planned at the same time. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a surprise what you'll see next week from me. All right, that's it for stitching. I have tiny shopping. And I don't even know. I tell you, if it wasn't for the fabric of the month, you probably wouldn't see much shopping from me because I kind of go in spurts. And okay, I always have a bigger fabric order out with somebody because, you're waiting X amount of weeks, months, whatever. So a lot of times I'll throw something out and pick up some stuff. Like with Fabrics by Stephanie, there's like 2 or 3 colors of hers that I adore. So I think I recently placed an order, but I won't get it for probably 10 or 12 weeks. And that's fine. It's just to replenish those colors that I always go to with her, and that kind of thing. And to dye for, of course, Kimberly, I always have to order with her because she keeps coming out with beautiful fabrics. So at some point I'll have those, but for the most part, you just see fabric of the month a lot of times. This first one is boring. It is. I just wanted to point out, I'm trying this and I'll let you know. I'll give you more of a review, or if you've used it before, let me know. So on Amazon, I used to, from a specific shop, I used to get a yard of white 18 count Aida, and it was very affordable. Then during COVID, she doubled her price, which, I get. It's hard to get, and you know what? Demand, if there's not a lot of supply and there's heavy demand, that's what, that's how you do it, right? That's how commerce works. People up the prices sometimes. So I haven't really gotten any from her. And I saw this on Amazon, and it's, I wanted to give it a try. This yard of fabric cost me, I think, $18.99. And it's just a yard of white 18 count Aida. But the brand was Caydo, Caydo. And feeling it, it's stiff Aida, but I don't think it's as stiff as the traditional one that I've gotten before. So I am really interested to see. I'm thinking of using this for my full coverage. And I also sometimes, I have coffee tea dyed in the past, and I'm a tea drinker. And every time I drink any of my teas and they're either kind of on the bluish color or the pinkish color or the yellowish or greenish or whatever, because I drink herbal teas most of the time, I'm always like, I want to try to dye some with my tea bags. So if I have extra white Aida and I've only paid $19 for a yard, I don't feel so bad having it be kind of like an experiment. So I'll let you know when I start stitching on this how comfortable it is, because I do use the plain white Aida, even if it's stiff, whatever, that's fine. But sometimes my hands start to hurt after a while using it, and I'm curious with this if it'll be a little bit better. So I will definitely follow up with you on a review of how this is, and if I like it, I will tell you where I got it, or I'll link it, or you can even look on Amazon if you just want to try it yourself before I review it. And then I did get a fabric of the month, and this is from Bestitchme. It is the March 2021 fabric of the month, and I am in the standard club, not the neutrals. So these are colors. So if you are in the standard club, not neutrals, and you have not gotten your March 2021 fabric yet, and you want to be surprised, look away, and I will tell you when to look back. I'm not gonna give you the color name out loud because that would give it away. But first, let me show you. Isn't that pretty? Really pretty. This is what it's called. And it's funny, I don't think I would necessarily have chosen this. It's probably a little darker than I would have, but I'm really glad. This is the case where being in a fabric of the month gets me a little out of my comfort zone, because I think I could find some pretty stuff to stitch on this, but I wouldn't necessarily have picked it on my own. So that is the March 2021 fabric of the month. You can look back now if you want to be surprised. It's gone. And that's it. That's all the shopping I have. Like I said, you know, except for any ongoing fabric of the month, I don't have a lot that I remember coming. I do want to do a 1, 2, 3 stitch order. There's some things I wanted to pick up. So, and I keep forgetting. At some point I will. I did see, and now her shop is on Etsy. It used to be a regular standalone. It's called Dove Stitch. And if you watch Coffee Stitcher, he's talked about, she's got a Wizard of Oz sale coming up, mystery sale, and I think he's starting it. I think it comes in April some point. So I'm sure you're going to be seeing that from him. But she has an Etsy shop. It's called Dove Stitch. And through Easter Monday, she's got a 20% off sale. And I've had my eye on a couple of patterns. They're cute. And there are some like seasonal semi-samplers, not like your traditional sampler, but kind of sampler-ish like. So I will link her below if you want to check her out on Etsy, because it's a great time. It's digital patterns that are on sale. If you're not averse to PDFs and you want to give it a try and you kind of like that cutesy look, then I would suggest giving them a try. I'll link it below because I want to make sure I'm not confusing it. You know, some of the fabric flares I get, that company is Dove Stitch. This is Little Dove. I don't remember. I'll make sure. It also has the word Dove in it. So I will link that. If you go to underneath below in the shopping section, I will link who it is that's having the sale if you want to check them out. So that's potentially some shopping that I'm going to do this weekend. Hey, 20% is 20%, right? So that's it. Giveaways. Let's talk giveaways. Oh, I never didn't take it out of the plastic. I'm sorry. I'm just going to leave it today in the plastic. This is called April's Daisy from Cottage Garden Samplings. And I don't know if this series is called My Garden Journal, because they have, every month they have a flower that they focus, and it's a monthly set of 12. Super cute. I definitely want to stitch these at some point on my own, all 12, because they're really pretty. And like, this is a seasonal, but it, you know, yeah, it says April showers bring May flowers, but it's not necessarily specific, okay, April or May. It's just the springtime, and you can just have it out at that point. And I think they might all be like that, so you're not stuck with just the month necessarily that it happens to say. But they do focus on a different flower for each month. So that's the pattern that I'm giving away. And let me mix the names around, because again, I write them in the morning and then I plop them in the bowl, and I never mix them around. One of these days I'll think about that and I'll get on it. But as I'm getting ready, it's one of those things I totally forget about. And the winner is, and who I'm sending this to is, I pulled it out, Pam Richardson. So Pam, if you could get back to me with your address, I will be happy to send this pattern out to you. So I'm going to make sure your name is by the pattern so I don't forget. You can either send me an email through Gmail, which is listed down below the address, or you can DM me on Instagram, address down below as well, or Instagram account, whatever you want to call it, is down below, and I will send that out to you. So thank you for playing along this past week. Now, this week, I have a couple pieces of little swatches of fabric that I'd like to give away. Deb had sent me some fabrics that I could give away, and these are some neutrals that I thought would be fun and nice. So we have, they're both 28 count, and they're not, I don't think they're linen. They're not really slubby looking. So they would be whatever 28 count would be besides. So they're a couple little scraps, but I think you could get some cute stuff on this. So this is just a white, and that's actually a decent size. You could get, depending on what you stitch on it, you could get a few things on this. So a white, and then one of these deeper, I don't know if I'd call it mushroom or a little bit darker, but two great kind of just neutral, nice colors. And this one is a smaller piece. It's a little swatch here, but you will receive, I will send both of these out to whoever wins. So that is this week's giveaway, is a couple of pieces. And I did as best as I could count and I could see. I am 96% sure that these are both 28 count. Those holes are small. And you know, I brought my ruler and I started counting that inch, but I was kind of eyeballing it without, you know, like putting a lot of times if I count, I'll do like a needle in each hole, so I know. I kind of did it the lazy way, but I'm 96% sure that these are 28 counts. Just in case, you know, depending on what you like to stitch on, or if you'd like to try it, you know. If you're like me and you haven't stitched on this, I look at this and I say, oh good God, my eyes would be going bug-eyed. But hey, if you have better eyes than me, I am all for sending you some fabric. So that is the giveaway. This week, I wanted to ask, I was thinking about, right now there's a movement to try to introduce people to new floss tubers, and it's like under 1,000. But I kind of wanted to go a different route. I know many of you who comment every week and who watch me have floss tubes, and I'm not sure always who does and who doesn't. And for my own purposes, so that I can branch out and watch some more of you, I want you to list one thing. This isn't the question, but if you do have a floss tube and you watch me and you know, whatever, please list your floss tube. And regardless, whether you have 3 subscribers or 3,000 subscribers, let me know. Once, this way, if other people want to see in the comments, they get a chance to see, if they're not watching you, who you are, and get you a little bit more exposure. And then I'd like to keep a list, and then I'd also like to maybe give some more shout outs of my stitchy friends who are with me all the time. I'd like to, you know, talk about you as well, and your stations and your floss tubes channels. That's what it's called. So that's just an aside, but that led me to the idea of, you know, some people say, oh, I'd love to, but I'm kind of afraid. So do you get stage fright, or do you get scared talking in front of people? Could you do like a talk in front of a group of people? Did you have a job that had you do that? Or just kind of that? That's the question. I know for me, I've been a teacher in schools. I was a fitness instructor. I love doing lectures. I used to love doing that I did corporate fitness for a while, and I did lectures and so on and so forth, and I love it. Where I get shy is if I'm at a party and like 10 people are chatting away in a little group and I have to come up to that group, I am super shy. I never know what to say, and I kind of just hang out and listen. But if it's just you and me chatting, or something like this where I'm talking to all of you, I'm fine. I love it. In fact, I really enjoy it. But what about you? Let's tell me about you. Tell me about your feelings. Have you done a lot of that? Do you do it even though it scares you? Or is it just something you just don't like doing? That's the question. And I'd love to hear, just like I'd love to hear about any floss tubes you may have. If you'd like to enter, please also add the word fabric in your comment. And I will be looking for the word fabric, and whoever I choose next week will get both of these. Super excited to see, do we have any like famous presenters here? Or not famous, but like big time presenters. Did you do like a lot of, or do you do a lot of presenting or work or that kind of stuff? I'd love to know more about you. I've done a little bit of everything. At some point maybe I'll talk about it, but I have to say it was a long and meandering road before I had my kids, and then ended up staying home. But I did a lot of different things and meandered in a whole different lot of fields. So it's kind of interesting, I think. And then it was all kid stuff and presenting in that sense, sort of. But anyway, I want to hear more about you, and this is the giveaway. That's it. If you don't want to hear life stuff, then thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next week. If you want to hang out for life stuff, I just got a little bit. This week, what did we do this week? Mo got his shot this past weekend, his first shot. Of course, not a lick of anything. No arm soreness, nothing. In fact, his other arm, he has some issues with the shoulder. He's like, that arm hurts. The one that I got the shot on doesn't hurt. So he got a Pfizer, I got Moderna. I don't know if it matters. I'm not really sure. But ironically though, then within the same weekend, we're both gonna get our second shot, which is kind of nice, because then after those 2 weeks, we'll both be vaccinated. In Connecticut, on yesterday, April 1st, April Fools is kind of funny, Connecticut opened it up to 16 plus. It was 45 and over before that. So you can imagine the chaos that happened now. I really want to get Connor a shot. I just don't necessarily think some of the people that he's around are as careful as we are, and I really just want him vaccinated. He's under 18, so he is only able to get one type. So I tried yesterday, and of course, everything is a disaster, and booked, and trying to get a hold of anything was crazy. My brother and sister-in-law, who are under 45, but they're in their 40s, very lucky, were able to find something for the next few days. So I'm super grateful for that, because he was really worried when it opened up that he would have a hard time trying to get one. I had to laugh because yesterday Mo and I were both trying different sites. And now if you're my age, you would probably, I don't know what you do now. It's probably more online. But remember back in the day, that's what we always like to say, back in the day, when we were young and we wanted to go to a concert, and you had to call and just constantly call to try to get concert tickets before they'd sell out. He's like, it's like trying to get concert tickets. And I'm like, I know, totally. Or fast forward 15 years when my kids were little, and you wanted to get them in a kids program, and you had to do call type of thing in order to get them in. And it was one of those highly crazy things that would fill up within an hour, and you'd be calling. I remember swimming lessons. There was a place that was really highly regarded, and I wanted to get my kids in because I wanted to make sure they could swim. And I remember having to call. And I did get them in, but same sort of thing. So now in my 50s, I'm trying to get a vaccination for my child, calling rather than concert tickets when I was 19. So I did that yesterday, no luck. Today, there's a phone number you can call, and they do a callback thing. And supposedly they're supposed to call me back within 24 hours. So hopefully I will be able to talk to somebody sometime today and get him booked and get him going. Tomorrow, he and Mo head off to one of his colleges for a visit, because now we are in May 1st is the deadline. He has to make a decision. So he is now in the process of, for the last time, or in one school's case, the first time, looking at all the schools that he's considering so that he can make the final decision. And I'm hoping by the middle of April, he has seen enough and we can get that in before the date before the deadline. As that's him, that's what he would do. So that's tomorrow. They're heading off, not very far, just Massachusetts. So he'll be checking something out there, and quick trip there, back within a few hours. So that I get a little bit of stitchy time, just Shamrock and I tomorrow. So that's a lot of fun. Easter, we are not doing family Easter as we normally would. I don't think, we're still not doing anything inside with family members, even the ones that are vaccinated, the older ones that are vaccinated. We are still keeping things because we're cognizant that we and Connor are out and about among people, and so it's really important that we don't stop yet. So we haven't been doing anything inside. So if we were to see anybody on Easter, it would have to be outside, and the weather right now is, it's back and forth, whether it's gonna be iffy, nice, back and forth. So we're not making any specific plans. It might be a morning of kind of, hey, let's hang out for a little bit and see each other, and so on and so forth. But I don't know yet. If not, we'll wait a few weeks until it's nicer and kind of have our celebration then. Connor's birthday is in May, so I'm hoping the weather definitely gets nice so that I can do a little bit of an outdoor party for him. He got nothing last year because that was kind of at the start of all of the lockdowns, you know, a month and a half, 2 months, a month and a half in. So things were different at that point. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to do something for him for his birthday this year. But it's all weather dependent, and New England in the spring can be 20 degrees or 70 degrees. So we will see. I'm not really sure. We could get snow in April. It's happened before. So I just play everything by ear and we'll go from there. But so the weekend will be quieter, especially for me tomorrow with the boys gone for a few hours. It'll be a quiet kind of day, and then Sunday most likely will be fairly quiet as well. Connor does have Easter Monday off. That's what happens when you go to a Catholic school. You get all the extra holidays off. He's got homework to do because it's the end of the quarter, and he, of course, didn't do everything he was supposed to. So he's buckling down. We are 2 months out from graduation. I'm like, you are not going to fail something now just because you didn't do the homework. So that'll be quiet, and then he's got a week, and then he's got spring break. So the month of April, he's only in school half the month, but that's fine. That's fine at this point, you know, it's winding down. A few weeks before graduation, they don't have classes, and he's got 2 AP classes. So after the exam, they don't really do much anyway. So things will be quiet anyway. But that's really about it. Not much else going on, to be honest with you. I'm super excited about my stitchy plans for April, and excited to see if you're stitching anything with me, or just what your stitchy plans are. I love looking. I am horrendous at putting my stitching on Instagram, but I love when you guys do, because I love being able to see everything, and then it enables me on some of the patterns. Sometimes when you see them stitched, you're kind of like, oh, that is beautiful. I wouldn't have necessarily picked it. So that's why I love seeing all of that. I thought this video was going to be short, but apparently I've rambled a decent amount. So it's kind of what my normal time has been lately. I hope everyone is well. I hope you're safe. You know, if you celebrate, happy Easter. If you celebrated Passover last weekend, I hope it was a lovely weekend for you. Whatever the case is, I hope you're doing well. I'm thinking about you, and I'm so happy to chat with you each week and stitch with you. So until next time, my stitchy friends, happy stitching.